Okay. All right. I think we're live here. There we go. Let me bring that up a little. I think that works. There we go. I'm a little late. Sorry, guys. It wasn't coming up. Sometimes it makes me like click it 3 times. I have to like re-upload. People are showing up now. We got a couple. Say hello and where are you from? Let everybody shuffle in here. Oh man. Happy Sunday. Let's see. There we go. Some people are popping in. Hello, Chrissy Betlam from New York. Terry Trim, Ohio. Leah Munsert. Hello from Kansas. Kathy, hi. Jen Wilder from Maine. Lorraine Black from Flint, Michigan. Very cool. Karen Knight, Alabama. Julie Regis, Akron, Ohio. Shout you guys out. Thank you so much. Trish, Dotacon 311, Springfield, PA. Very cool. Kimber, got some familiar faces here. Awesome. So I know I have a lot of Ruby, Teresa, Dee, Doozy, and Clara. Thank you. I have a lot of medical providers. It's very cool that watch this, or retired medical providers or students, and then just a lot of other people who love pops as well. But I wanted to talk today about burnout with medical providers and exhaustion and burnout. And I'm going to go a little bit into it and just signs of like what to look out for. I wanted to answer a question. Somebody, a couple questions first. So that come up on my comment section. One was I always popper. And I never really had severe acne. I would get some acne in my teenage years, and I would mess with it before I got into medicine. And if it was poppable, I would pop it. But I thought back on that, and then I realized like my roommates that had ingrown hairs, they'd be like, "Greg, you got to get this." People would come to me to get stuff out, which made me think, well, obviously, then I must have exuded something that I was up for the challenge, because I had in my memory multiple people coming to me. And even being on the road, and, people like our manager, I think, and our bass player, the people wouldn't trim their nails regularly, just things when you're just constantly busy and you don't have a good routine, and they would get ingrown toenails. And I remember popping a huge one in the United Kingdom for, I think it was our bass player. And it's funny that people come to me for that. I must have really been into pops or things like it, even though it wasn't really online back then. This was years, this is 2003, 2004. But so yeah, the answer is yes. I think I was. Obviously, I enjoy it, so it doesn't bother me at all. I like making people feel better. I like getting stuff in that's in out, because I feel like when there's stuff packed in, whether it's a cyst, an abscess, the body is just trying to get it out, bring it to the head. It's trying to pop. Sometimes things aren't ripe or ready, and that's where experience comes in to minimize scarring. So yes, it is important to know what you're doing, or you can cause permanent scars. If you know what you're doing, you can usually minimize. I mean, there'll be pigment from inflammatory lesions, but you can usually pretty much minimize the scar. A real thin triangular 11 blade is very, very capable of making such a thin slice that it just heals back together so well, you don't really see much. But let's talk about exhaustion and burnout. There's been some new studies that have just come out this year saying that like 40 to 60%, I believe, of medical providers in the United States suffer from exhaustion and burnout, or at least some of the signs and symptoms. Um, and I have to say, even myself, in the 12 years I've been doing it, it's interesting because you get a lot of times in medicine, for the most part, I know it's generalizing, but a lot of people with type A personalities are very capable, they usually are fairly intelligent people. And it's those people sometimes that probably wouldn't take the time to say, this is too much for me. They feel like I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And gosh, it is so important to know your boundaries. And, you know, I, uh, especially in dermatology, there are high expectations of patient numbers, and you kind of have two things going against each other. One is a provider that can only do so much, and the other is a business that's trying to pay bills, and those things collide constantly, daily. And you put on top of that, in certain areas, high levels of no shows, so they tend to overbook by 20%, 25% sometimes. um, and it you know, some days everybody shows up when you're overbooked, and you're talking about really being in the red and running in the red. I myself have become accustomed to running in the red for the most part. I to pat myself on the back, I feel like I compartmentalize very well, and by necessity. Um, what I'm going to say about each individual diagnosis, because I've said it thousands of times. So I really have something in my head that is worked out for all of these diagnoses that I see. And for the ones that might be a curveball, or we have to, talk about a certain path report that came in, then you have extra time. But having good support staff is important. But, you know, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, right before the pandemic, I was running pretty high numbers at another place that I was at, and it kept getting higher. And it's sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you don't realize what burnout is, because you're still semi young and you're still capable. And how burnout started to manifest with me is that I didn't enjoy the things I usually enjoy, and fishing was a big one. And I remember being out on a weekend day, and I had 2 or 3 hours. My wife had the kids, or I got up really early, and I was out there, and I wasn't even enjoying it. And I couldn't believe it. It was like an epiphany for me. It really hit me. I was like, I think this is burnout. Like, I'm always exhausted just being a parent of young kids. So that's always there. And my wife and I do a pretty good job of breaking each other. We call it napping each other. We give each other a nap. So we'll take the kids so the one can nap, and they'll come back, and we take the other one so the other one can nap. And I'll tell you, it is very important to recognize burnout in yourself, because you can hurt somebody. You can misdiagnose. You can write the wrong thing. I mean, you can be so burned out that you can't you're not reading things correctly, or you're making mistakes, where lives can be on the line. So that is very important. Number one, for the people that you're serving and trying to help. Number two, for yourself, keeping yourself in good shape. Exercise is important. Sleep is so important. But really knowing your boundaries. And I say this to people all the time. There's a business side to medicine, and not even in socialized medicine. There's a group of people that you have to get through. It's why they're booked out a lot of times, months and months and months, but they still have a day to get through, and a backlog of patients that are trying to get in, and maximizing what that person is capable of. So each patient feels like they're getting adequate time, and the provider doesn't feel burned out. And that's different for every person, which is what makes it difficult for managers of companies or businesses. You may have a new PA, or even some doctors that are still looking up some stuff in the first year or two. They got to take a break and go look up something, because they don't remember what it was, or they think they're like, oh, I remember, I got to look that up. I remember what that was, or the treatment protocol, I can't recall on that. When you're doing it a while, that stuff is just, it's already there. I very, very rarely have to look something up, but I do every now and then. It's more to confirm and make sure there wasn't a new data that's come out. But in the beginning, so you have all these different providers, and you have managers that are like, well, hey, this is a derm provider, they should be able to do this, and it's such a different dichotomy. And it's up to you as a provider to express and say, hey, you guys are pushing me over the line. I can't do this. I need to adjust these numbers. I need this amount of time for this procedure. You got to be your own advocate, or you're going to end up in a bad place. And it's, either whether it's falling asleep on the way home while you're driving, or just making a medical error. These things are very important. So I wanted to take just a couple minutes to talk about that. I know I have, for me, this was 2017, 2018. I made an adjustment of where I was working for that particular reason. When I come to my managers, I know very well what I'm capable of. I know my numbers. I know exactly the amount of minutes it takes me to do a surgery, because I've done it for a long time, and I'm very into fine tuning myself and my schedule. I enjoy it. It's almost like a challenge to me. So when I go to a manager and I say, this is exactly what I can do, I mean it. And maybe they've had other people tell them in the past the same thing, like, they can do 20% more than that. And so they push it. But I was already like in the red and producing huge numbers for them. And so they should have known. But I think they thought, hey, this guy's making us a lot of money. He's pushing a lot of numbers here. Let's give him a little more. And I have to say, in that time, I had the least amount and zero complaints a lot of times. So I'm not pushing numbers at the cost of, rushing through and telling somebody they can't tell me something. Like, no, I've already diagnosed you with eczema. You can't say anything else. I answer people's questions. I sit there and I do not make people feel rushed. And that is a talent, to be able to be diagnosing somebody as they're telling you a story, and then being able to politely be like, yeah, and this is what you have here, and this is what you have here, and getting through that conversation, and them still feeling like, hey, wow, he really listened to me. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes years to perfect, but I do enjoy the challenge. So when I kind of shifted over to the place I'm at now, I realized at the end of the day, I was losing my voice almost every day. I don't think the chat's frozen. I think people are just listening. I know I haven't seen anybody put much up there for a second. No, they're still there. So I remember around that time, I was like, man, I'm losing my voice every day. And, every now and then, when you can make anybody get behind if you give them enough patience. So they were overbooking me. And I don't like getting behind. I don't like people coming up and saying, am I getting called back? I don't like that at all. I don't like it when it happens to me. So I try to minimize that as much as I can. The national average is like 55 to 59 minutes wait time for dermatology in the United States. I average, I would say, probably 20 to 35 minutes, which is half the natural average. I mean, people got to fill out paperwork. And sometimes, you have a procedure, somebody has a bleeder. That happens. You're doing procedures when people can bleed. You are going to get a little bit behind, but finding that sweet spot where, you can maximize your potential and the potential for the business and for the patients, and not get severely behind. So it's a daily battle. But within that lies exhaustion and burnout. And you really need to, it's not going to be on the other end. They're not going to just underbook you. I have not seen that happen. So what's going to happen is going to be whether you right where you need to handle it, or edging into burnout. So many people really need to look in the mirror and be honest with themselves. Cause I have seen it. I've seen it in providers over the years, making mistakes on their charts. And I'm like, oh, I know, I know some of the providers, I know they're good. And I know, wow, I just didn't see that, the misspellings, things like that. So this is, for me, and it's different for everybody. Some people are falling asleep when they drive home. Some people aren't getting enough sleep for whatever particular reason. For me, it was actually not enjoying something I love to do. And that it was so strange to me, because for my whole life, I've loved fishing. And I'll never forget it. I was out there, I had a little coffee, the fog on the lake. And I was just like, I don't even want to be here right now. and then I literally had that thought. And then within a second, I was like, oh my gosh, this is burnout. Like, I need to make some changes. It's not healthy. And at that time also, I wasn't being able to get up early to work out in the morning. Exercise is a huge part. I just got done exercising right before I did this, and being able to stay up on that is super important to your mental wellness. Um, I always tell people, when you work out, you actually release endorphins and things in your brain that make you happy. It's no joke. You release the good enzymes, I tell people. And I can't tell you the amount of times if my wife is super busy at work or friends, and they'll be like, man, I just feel down. I just feel like I can't get out of this like, gosh, funk. And I'll be like, go work out. Just go do 30 minutes of cardio, whatever it is. And it works. It surprisingly works for a lot of people. Now I know there's other people that have done certain things when they were younger, or that they have enzyme issues that they are under releasers or over producers of certain things, and sometimes medications. And we're talking about um, mental illness and things like that. For the most part, though, if you're a normally functioning mentally adult, I have found that it really helps, surprisingly so. And I tell patients that I in dermatology, I think more than anything, but I think a lot of medical professions, but in dermatology, people come in and they dump some serious stuff on you. uh, cheating husbands and wives, and deaths in the family, and really big issues, and those types of things bring out stress in patients, that bring out skin conditions like psoriasis. All kinds of skin conditions are related to stress. So it's very common that I will ask those questions to see about the what's been going on in their life. But and I really I tell people, whether it is maybe for some people it's a single glass of wine that just makes them feel like they took a breath, a walk, playing with their dog, throwing the ball at their dog, whatever it is, you got to find it for you, and do it on the regular. And you will be so surprised at how things can help. Now, obviously, whatever work you have, or if you own your own business, I know that's even harder. But it can be very difficult. But you got to take that time, because if you're running the business, or you're the parent, or you're the provider, you got people depending on you, and you don't want accidents to happen or mistakes to happen. So you got to find that for you, and make sure to take the time and realize the signs of burnout. And a lot of times it is feeling exhausted, not finding happiness in what you do, nodding off, falling asleep, making mistakes on your charts or whatever you do, that mistakes you don't usually make. All of those things, just be aware, and make the core. I used to have a buddy. It was he does a lot of motivational speaking, I guess is the best way to put it. And he always talks about course correction. And I just thought, I always used to kind of laugh, but he's exactly right. Course corrections, making those course corrections, because it isn't always a huge right turn. We slowly start to veer off the course. And, that slow veering is why you don't notice it a lot of times. And then you start to be like, well, where am I? How am I not enjoying what I like to do normally? How have I gained 15 pounds all of a sudden? All of those things. And it is making those course corrections, saying, hey, I can't have this many patients at 8:45 or 8:30 or at 9 o'clock or whenever it is. I want to get up a half an hour earlier so I can at least go on a walk or go do the 30 minutes of cardio. Going to bed on time or a little bit earlier so you can get up earlier. All those things, very, very important. And one of the reasons I say that is, oh, I see my wife took the kids out for a walk. How cute. Um, One of the reasons I say that is because I'm getting ready to recertify for my physician assistant recertification. And it's it's a tough test. It's like a 5 or 6 hour test. I do have the option to spread it out over 35 or over 3 years, and take 25 questions a quarter, which is a new thing. They are just starting January, coming up this next year. And I think I'm going to do that, but I have to study. And to give you some reference, this long test or prolonged test if I do it over 3 years, it's 3 to 5% dermatology. And all I've been doing is dermatology since I got out of school. So 3 to 5% of a test. Oh man. So I got to go back and learn EKGs again. Cardiology is a huge part of the test. Primary care, diabetes and the treatment of diabetes. All of this stuff, I have to go back reading radiographs, X-rays, treatment protocols for psychology, and I mean, it's gonna be a lot of work, and it's I'm gonna start in the next couple of months. I'm just gonna start so I don't have to really kind of. You can't cram for something like this. I need to do it over this time, month after month coming up. And so, I just need to get my time spread out. One thing that has really started to kind of bum me out about my channel is when you can see it is you can see your whole longitudinal growth. Their analytics are amazing. So you can see all this. And I really did have a great projection last year of where this channel was going. And they do have, it's a good question. Dermatologists have a derm board that they have to take that is specific to dermatology. So orthopedics have the same thing. Anesthesiologists have the same thing. So as an MD or a DO, as a doctor, you will have your boards specific to your profession and your specialty, which is the way it should be. Physician assistants are a little different. I could quit tomorrow and go work ER. I could go work orthopedics. To be able to do that, that's a luxury that physician assistants have, and I think it's a great luxury. It's a very cool perk to being a physician assistant. Is that you can literally change your specialty throughout your career if you wanted to. And to do that, you have to have your certification with the C at the end. And the reason for that is if you pass your test to be certified, that means you're proficient in all those things. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it makes it tough on somebody like me who out of school went straight into dermatology and stayed there, or orthopedics. I have friends that went straight into orthopedics. It definitely makes it tougher for you to keep your certification, but I think it definitely makes you a better provider. You see the patient as a whole. And when I see all kinds of other things when people are coming in, metabolic syndrome, obese patients, you see all these other things, and I'll do blood work sometimes, even stuff I can't treat. I'll catch a diagnosis and then I send them to an internal medicine doctor, their primary care, wherever they need to go, because I could see it happen. And a lot of times it presents on the skin too, but it definitely makes you a better clinician, bar none. I don't, there's some people they're kind of mad about that we have to do that. So, I don't mind it, but it's every 10 years I have to do it, and it's coming up. And so it's like a mountain that I'm getting closer and closer to. And I'm like, I'm going to have to start climbing this mountain again. And it'll be good. I've already passed it twice. I passed it right after school and then 6 years after. And now it's again, it's my first 10-year recert, and it's going to be a doozy. So I'm going to start studying. But what I was going to say, or what I was saying about my channel, is it's really just kind of, you can literally see their algorithm and how it works, and how when they stop sharing me. I was really getting some great exponential growth. It took me a year to get 100,000 subscribers. Some people never get 100,000 subscribers, and I'm not at all complaining. I think that we've done amazing things with the channel. But the first year was 100,000. The next 3 months, I got my second 100,000. And then that's about the time, about a year ago, when they really tweaked my channel, and they stopped all green icons. So I couldn't have ever again a green icon and normal ads on any video I ever do on that channel, on Mr. Popsit. And they also stopped sending out notifications. So when they did that, it just boom, just started going down, and the growth was going down. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to double up on videos. uh, and I was like, I'm gonna really hit them with a bunch of stuff. And yeah, I had little peaks, but it's so crazy. It feels like when they don't share I have so many comments because I see all the comments that come in, and I have so many comments, people saying, I didn't even get your notification of your last video. Every day, hundreds and hundreds. And then I think, man, that is shit. It's like, I think I've said this before on my lives, but like in the movie Gladiator, when he takes him out and he's like, we're going to have a good fight. And he stabs him in the side. And then he stabs him in his liver it's a mortal wound underneath his leather. And then, he puts like a little thing under there to stop a little rag to stop the bleeding. And then he put Marcus Aurelius, I think it is, he pushes him out and then he goes out to fight him because he knows he can't beat him if he was totally healthy. And it's like, I feel like that. It's like, oh, hey, they'll email me and say, yeah, you can still post whatever video you want and do all these things. But it's like, it's kind of like they're putting water on the fire daily and then saying, why isn't your fire so bright? But, I try to stay positive, but it really, it can be tough. All I do is just, be me. I'm going to keep doing the videos, but there is going to be some time. And I know in the next like 6 months, as I go to start my, my studying for my recertification, that I'm going to be doing some adjustments on a couple different things. But, so yes, so PAs don't specialize a perk, but you must be proficient in all areas. Yeah. You can, PA specialize. They now have started after your master's degree. You can do a 1 year in general surgery. You pay money. It's kind of like doing I can't remember what you call it. That's what doctors do. It's like when you do a 1 or 2 year addendum of a specialty, whatever you want to do, whether it's Mohs surgery or different things. They do. I think somebody was talking about there's going to be one for dermatology as well, so that they can go and pay to come out more proficient. And I'm sure in the next 10 years, more of that will come out. So it does exist, but most of them are primary care based because they were fellowship. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. A fellowship or basically a year or two of additional. So yeah, it's ever changing, it's kind of an interesting thing that in the United States, there are a lot of shortages in a lot of states of medical providers, and nurse practitioners and physician assistants they're trying to fill the void, and being utilized correctly. I think they can in a great way, but there's only so many that come out into the workforce each year. So there's definitely a shortage, and there's a bigger shortage on training them correctly, I think. It's hard. You got to get out there and you got to do it. And it takes time. So, but yeah, absolutely in the rural areas, it is it's tough. They gotta know a lot of things. They got to know what they don't know and when to call that doctor an hour and a half away or that ER an hour and a half away. Hey, I'm sending a patient. Yeah, it takes a lot to know what you don't know. So, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. I thought would be a good thing to talk about, exhaustion and burnout in medical providers. I've had a lot of actually students and actual medical providers just email me in the last month or two, which has been very cool. So I was just thinking about that. And I'm like, I should mention that because it's something that I haven't fully burned out and like took 3 months off or anything, but I started to feel it and I course corrected, and boy, it creeps up on you. So, and it's just a good conversation to have. So I think that was all, we got it 30 minutes. That's what I wanted to cover today. Anybody have questions outside of that we can discuss? I'll give it 5 minutes of questions if we got 50 people here. And if not, that's okay. I know there were a couple. Yeah, let me see. Sorry. Let me go up and see. I was talking and I always get interrupted. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Wani, the king of pops. That's awful nice of you. Let me see here too. Yeah, a lot of people are on here talking about um, having burnout. Absolutely. In retirement, it's so funny. My wife has a pretty stressful job. My job can be stressful at times, and we're very young, and we talk about retirement all the time. Oh man, I can't imagine. It's like just taking out a deep breath. I know. I guess everybody does that, but we talk about it probably more than we should. Let's see. Talk with you. I'd rather talk at you. Yes, I agree. Kim Stevens, I think that's important. A lot of medical professionals may talk at you as opposed to with you. And something I've always from the get-go, I talk to people. And it's just I've always done that. So I didn't have to make a conscious effort, but sometimes it comes natural. And maybe that's why, it works well for me. Let me see. I'm just looking to make sure I didn't see any. Yes. OB-GYN was delivering a baby. Okay. Oh, I can't imagine. That's a good point. Obstetrics, OB-GYN. Gosh, when you are with somebody and they're like, hey, I'm going into labor, maybe you're on vacation, maybe wherever you're at, they're always on call and then they have backups. But imagine it's happened to friends of ours where they had the person that they wanted to deliver the baby and it was their backup person that delivered. And it's a big day that you're waiting a long time for and then to have somebody else do it, but it's just the way it goes. Or they're in another C-section or doing another baby. They're at another hospital and you're literally going into labor. That is so crazy. I know that can be tough. And let me see here. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss any of those other questions. How often do I have to recertify? The first one was 6 years and it's every 10 thereafter. And this is I did my first test 6 years after, and then this is the 10 years after that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, 2026 will be, but I have 3 years. So I have to start in 2023. I think 2024, 2025 is when I have to take it. So let's see here. Just going back on the questions. Tracy Jane, yes. Very common in primary care, for sure. In the UK, nurses are the same here. PAs aren't common here at all, but nurse practitioners are. Yeah, I know they utilize a lot of them over there. Oh yeah, for sure. Kimber, do Smythe or Smith. Differences in skin conditions of different ethnic groups. Yeah, a lot of us have all the same, eczema, psoriasis, but there are certain things that I do notice a lot of Filipino and Thai, people from Thailand have a lot of allergies over here. Food allergies, a lot of pollen allergies, and very severe. And even alcohol and certain wine allergies is something I've noticed that has really stuck out over time. I mean, that can happen to anybody, but I see a lot of certain type of ethnic groups that come in with those certain issues. A lot of my African American patients have certain hair issues for sure. And it's funny, I mean, it's not funny that they have that. It's funny because you might not think, I'm a very light skinned Caucasian with no hair. And I do have patients come in and like, how are you going to tell me about my hair? And I've spoken about this before in other lives, I think, but my phone is lighting up. I trained under somebody who trained in Tulane, which is over there in the South, and specialized in African American skin conditions and hair conditions, actually. And he was one of the dermatologists that trained me, and so I got very proficient in that, actually. So it's funny because they wouldn't, you might not think that just looking at me, but I know a lot about that and have helped a lot of African American patients. I do have quite a bit. It's funny. I have a couple patients. They all go to church and they're like, I told everybody. She's like, I told everybody, you helped me. And then a bunch of people come from her church and we just have a good time. So it's nice. But yeah, that's a good question. And you do notice that for sure. There are certain skin types that just have, or ethnic groups that have certain propensities for certain things. Maybe I'll do a live on that someday too, where I get in more detail. But good question. Let's see, compliance. Wani, my post about the compliance person degrading a PA because he was called a doctor. She called him mid-level. They do the mid-levels. They do call us mid-levels a lot. Some hospitals will call all of the master's degree levels mid-levels. It's funny. I think as a PA or a nurse practitioner, sometimes if you're real sensitive about certain things, I don't know if it's a good profession for you, because I've gone into rooms and had people say straight to my face, "Oh, you're not a doctor. I don't want to see you. I know you can't help me." And it's how you deal with that, politely. A lot of times they're not even trying. They don't know, just because they don't understand what your teaching in school was, doesn't mean that you can't help them. They just need to be educated in the fact that you could. I always tell them, hey, you took off work or whatever you were doing today. You're here. The doctor is not here today, but we can schedule you with them. You want to give me 5 to 10 minutes. And if you disagree with what I'm saying in any way, I will gladly have your follow-up with the MD that's here. And the hundreds of times that's happened, not had one person, not one, say, "Oh, okay, I don't like what you said, or I disagree," because it's very, very, very rare that they would have something that I didn't know what it was. So you just say, you have to carry yourself and carry your chin high and know what you're capable of, and you can get yourself out of that anytime. But mid-level, doesn't hurt my feelings. We don't, as PAs, you can get a doctorate degree, but it's in physician assistant studies. A lot of people do it just for teaching and being at teaching institutions. But yes, a lot of people have continuing education for sure, Teresa. Okay, almost done. I think it's time to have dinner here almost, for sure. Probably going to be some kids busting in here any second. So I think I got most of these. Perfect. Yes, New Orleans, Tulane University. There you go. Yes. So just want to say goodbye. Hello, look who's here. Come here. Whoa, look at these guys. Oh, you guys got some necklaces. How funny. They just got presents. Necklace. Can you say hello, hello? I know. There's people from all over the world right now talking to us, guys. How crazy is that?
Crazy.
I know. Can you blow him a kiss? Get this she's got her little princess dress on. Oh, she had a little cape on that one, but I guess maybe it came off.
Yeah, it did.
Their Nana just all got them necklaces, so they're wearing them everywhere that they go. So fun. But it's time. We are going to go to the pool. They've been running around. It is hot here. They're sweaty. I can feel you guys being sweaty.
I actually am. We played over there.
I know. They were running and having a good time. But so thanks for popping by, guys. It is time to go have dinner, go to the pool, and start another work week. So we're going to wave. Say bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
So cool. And we'll see you guys again soon.
Bye, Mr. Pop's YouTube channel.
Papalitos. Bye. Bye. There we go.